Hello, my name is Dr. Mark Sandoval. Welcome again to another session of the Coronavirus Immunity Challenge with Abundant Health and Uchee Pines Institute, and it is a pleasure to be with you again. Again, I am the medical director here at the Lifestyle Center at Uchee Pines Institute, and it is a pleasure to spend these 10 days with you and to learn more about our immune system and the various different factors that can be used to help to improve, to maximize your immune system. Today's topic is hydration and immunity. We are looking at water intake and its impact on the immune system and what you can do about it. First of all, let's imagine a couple of scenes. Scene number one. Your car, you have been driving across the desert, you didn't realize that it was 200 miles to the next gas station, and you ran out of gas, and you're stuck out in the desert. It's been a day and a half, you haven't had anything to drink, you're trying to find a place where you can find water, your lips are cracked, your tongue is dry, it's sticking to the top of your mouth, you've got a headache, and your eyes are blurry, and you're just feeling miserable. Second scenario, you're at the beach, life is nice, you're sitting in the lounge chair, you have a big old glass of water next to you, and you're sipping on it, enjoying the sunshine, and looking at the waves ripple off in the distance. Better yet, let's throw a couple of palm trees on the beach and a hammock in between, and you're hanging there on a hammock, and instead of just having a glass of water, you've got a coconut with a straw and some coconut water. And it's been in the refrigerator, so it's nice and cool and chilled. You're drinking on that and hanging in there in the hammock. All right, which scenario do you think your immune system is going to be functioning better? Dehydrated desert or nice and hydrated in the hammock on the beach? Well, of course, it's going to be functioning better there on the beach. The research shows that if you're dehydrated, it increases cortisol levels or stress hormones in the blood. Those cortisol levels have an impact, a depreciating impact upon the immune system and its function. We also know that marathon runners who become dehydrated, they also develop immune dysfunction associated with that dehydration as well. And we also know that dehydration decreases the concentration of salivary immunoglobulin A. What's that? Well, it's an antibody that's produced in your saliva, and it's one of your first lines of defense of the immune system against foreign bacteria and invaders, because most of your bacterial exposure actually comes through your digestive tract. You eat it. And so that salivary immunoglobulin A is there to begin the immune defense, and that decreases in individuals who are dehydrated. There are probably a number of other components associated with proper hydration versus dehydration, but some of it is difficult to tease out in the research. You might be asking the question, how much water should I be drinking? Well, that's a really good question, and the answer is, well, is it 8 glasses? That's what most people say. But let's say you've got somebody that they're small, petite, and you have somebody else that's, well, quite a bit bigger. Are they both supposed to be drinking 8 glasses? Will that support the needs of both of their systems? Some people say, well, you need to drink enough so that your urine remains clear throughout the day. Okay, well, that's good. So let's get a little bit more specific with something that matches our physiology a little bit better. One of the recommendations that I have found that makes the most sense to me as a physician is to drink 1 ounce of water for every 2 pounds that you weigh. So you get on the scale, you weigh yourself, and you cut that weight in half. That's how many ounces of water you should be drinking throughout the day. And if you are sweating, If you have a fever, if you have diarrhea or other causes for excess water loss, you need to drink additional on top of that. Now, what do you need to drink? Well, water is perfect. Another good thing, coconut water actually is very good as a rehydration solution. And individuals that have severe diarrhea or other significant water losses, they might actually rehydrate better with a rehydration solution. Again, coconut water, excellent. But a rehydration solution can include things like a liter of water, about 5 cups of water, and add into it a half a teaspoon of salt and 6 teaspoons of sugar. Now, the sugar is not going to be the best for the immune system and its function, but if you're dying from dehydration, well, it's going to be better for you to get rehydrated quickly than to worry just about the sugar content. Now, when should you drink? I recommend that you drink at least 2 cups of water when you wake up in the morning. Now, does it have to be that? No, it doesn't have to be that. But the time of greatest dehydration of the entire 24-hour day is just before you take your first drink in the morning, because you've gone throughout the nighttime without having anything to drink. What might be some complications with that dehydration? Well, most problems with heart attacks have a higher frequency in the very early mornings. Now, part of that might be because cortisol levels are increased in the early morning and its impact upon heart function, but it also can be because the blood is more concentrated, you're more dehydrated at that time, and when that's the case, you're more likely to form blood clots. So that early morning when you wake up, drink a couple of cups of water and make sure your system starts getting hydrated fairly quickly. What do you do about drinking around meal times? I don't recommend drinking with meals. So you drink your water up to about a half an hour before meals, and then starting again about an hour or so after your meals are done. And so you do your drinking before and between and after meals, but not with your meals. And you want to consume that water throughout the day. You don't want to just have, all of your day's water content just at one time and just do a chug-a-lug and get the whole thing over with. You just don't want to do that. And it might be a good idea, especially if you are somebody who has problems with urinating frequently at night. It might be a good idea to limit or slow down or cut out the water drinking towards the later hours of the day, after 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening, so that you're not up all night urinating. So how do you remember to drink as much as you need to drink throughout the day? Because frequently we forget. We don't think about drinking if it's not been something that's a habit of ours. And if you wait until you're thirsty, well, you're already dehydrated by the time you're thirsty. That's why you're thirsty, is because you're dehydrated. You got to rehydrate and get that up. Well, one of the things that I've found to be beneficial is to carry a bottle with me that contains all the water that I need for the day. And so with my weight and my height, a bottle this size actually contains the amount of water for half of my body weight. And I can fill this up and I can start drinking it in the morning. And how heavy and how full it is later in the day tells me how well I've been doing at drinking my water. And how light it is tells me how well that I've been doing at drinking my water, and how much that I need to push the water drinking before I end up going to bed in the evening. What are things that you should avoid drinking? Well, one of the things that you should avoid drinking is caffeine. Caffeine is a diuretic, and so as you drink caffeinated beverages, it actually increases the kidney's output of urine and you lose more fluid. Not necessarily more than you took in, but it increases more water loss than you would if you were drinking water. Alcohol as well is the same thing. Alcohol is a diuretic and it increases urine production too, and so it has the tendency to dehydrate as well. You also want to avoid drinking soft drinks. Soft drinks provide lots of calories without providing fiber or other types of things to go along with it. They cause spikes in your blood sugar levels, which have complications with diabetes, with immune function, as we're going to be looking at later. And you also want to avoid diet drinks as well, like diet Pepsi, Diet Coke, Diet whatever, because that changes the gut microbiome, the types of bacteria growing in the gut, and selects for bacteria that promote metabolic problems. You also want to avoid relying upon juices for most of your drinking, because they have lots of sugars, natural sugars in them as well, which adds a lot of calories, and you really want to stick with that water. So what if you are having a cough? Let's say you've got respiratory issues, you've got a cough. What's something that you can do with water to help with the cough? Well, one thing that I have found that works really well is that every time you cough, you take a sip of water. If you cough again, you take a sip of water. You cough again, you sip again afterwards. So every time you cough, you sip. And that, within about 20 minutes to 30 minutes, really starts suppressing that cough response, because it causes the mucus lining the respiratory tract to become thinner and easier for the respiratory tract to expel it. An alternative method is, when you're having a cough like that, drink a cup of water every 10 minutes for an hour. Now recognize that means that you're going to go through about 6 cups of water in that hour. But again, there's the component that it is going to moisten the respiratory tract, thin the mucus layer, and increase your ability to expel that mucus and decrease the coughing. What if you have your sinuses all blocked up and you have problems with your sinuses? Well, you can take a neti pot. It's a little pot that has a screw on top, and it has a little spout. You put a cup of warm water in there with a quarter teaspoon of salt and a quarter teaspoon of baking soda. So again, cup of warm water, quarter teaspoon of salt, quarter teaspoon of baking soda, and you get that, mix it in nice and well, and you lean over a sink, turn your head to the side, and you put that nozzle in the upper nostril of your nose. You hold your breath, don't breathe while you're doing this, hold your breath and pour, and it will run down the back of your nose and then out the other side and run for a while. You take a breath, you turn to the other side, you put it in the upper nostril and you pour, and you hold your breath and you let it pour, and you keep doing that back and forth until you go through that full cup. Blow your nose really well afterwards. That has been shown to help out with allergies and also with sinus infections too. And with respiratory illnesses like COVID-19 that we're looking at not getting, we find that individuals with respiratory illnesses tend to do better when they have vaporized water or a water humidifier in their room. In fact, there's some studies coming out with COVID-19 showing that it is more unstable in warm, humid environments. So if you want it to break down faster with its little droplets in the air and so on, then have a warm, humid environment, and it will break down faster than if it's in a cool and dry environment. And these are things that you can use with water to help out with your immune system. Again, if you're interested in more information, you can look up uchipines.org, that's UCHEEPINES.org, and look up the virtual sessions, lifestyle sessions, and other online opportunities that are there, as well as Abundant Health. And it is a pleasure again to be with you, going through these 10 days of this coronavirus immunity challenge. Again, my name is Dr. Mark Sandoval, and I look forward to spending more time with you tomorrow.